I paid off my student loans almost like 3 years ago to the day. And I've been like building my credit up because I was like a stupid teenager and I screwed it up. But I've been doing like really well and I paid off my student loans. And then I got the refund in the mail and I need to calm down. They sent me too much money, I guess. And what it did, because they sent me too much money, it was like $200. Loans that were closed and fully paid off are now in default.
Tell me how anyone thinks this number is a realistic monthly payment for a student loan. I've been paying on my loans for 7 years. I'm in the public loan forgiveness program, and look what my monthly payment is supposed to be based on standard repayment.
People with student loans get a weird amount of hate from people who don't have student loans. It's this like, oh, well, why would you go get a college degree if you couldn't afford to get it? There's really not a lot of options. So, a lot of jobs need it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about something that I absolutely love to talk about, which is student loans. Kidding, I hate the fact that student loans exist. Or as I'm sure you know, there's a lot of stress that comes with student loans. There's this idea that many people have been lied to about college and, how college is a scam and all these things. And to a degree, I, maybe agree with that statement because of the idea of student loans, people being burdened with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt just to get a degree. And obviously in some cases you need the degree, like if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, things like that. But a lot of people are burdened by this. And unfortunately, student loans have just made it extremely difficult for people to feel like they can get ahead financially. And so let's look at a few examples of this particular sentiment of just not being able to get ahead or even feeling like you've been screwed over because your student loans. And then I'll talk about my experience with them, which I just love to talk about.
I don't think people really understand just how much debt can totally derail your life, especially student loan debt, because some of that reaches just an astronomically high price. I saw someone saying they were paying $1,250 a month just to student loan debt. Imagine your living situation right now, your bills, and add $1,250 a month onto that you get nothing to do with, and see how fast that tanks your entire life.
Yeah.
When I was a freshman in high school, for some reason I gauged my entire 4 years of high school around not going into debt for student loans when I was going off to college. I wanted to go to college, but I was not going to go to college at all if it meant I was going to have to get student loans, because I was not going to spend the start of my life in massive debt. Luckily for me, the university I went to gave me a full ride and then some. So I was actually getting paid to go to university first from how much scholarship money I had. But I chose to go to my local state university instead of going to my bigger, better choice of a university because it was going to cost me too much money to live in that area at the time. And that was money I didn't have. So there was no reason for me to do it just for the prestige of the better school. Sometimes I would.
I like that word, prestige. I like the movie too. If you're unfamiliar, you should watch it.
Maybe I could have made it work, but I enjoy not having any debt. I love that. And for me personally, if I was going to have to go into debt to go to college, if I didn't get a full ride, I just wasn't going to go at all. I was going to join the military, probably like the Air Force or something, because it's a bit more cushy. And then I was going to have them pay for me to go to college via the GI Bill or whatever else they got going on. Luckily, I didn't have to do that because I ended up getting the full ride. But people with student loans get a weird amount of hate from people who don't have student loans. It's this like, oh, well, why would you go get a college degree if you couldn't afford to get it? There's really not a lot of options. So, a lot of jobs need it. To get a college degree or a better job, you need the college degree. So it's like a catch-22. I just don't think they deserve all the hate.
My friend over here had so many good points. I mean, for one, he chose to go to a school that was able to give him a full ride scholarship. And obviously that's not the case for most people. You have to really excel academically in high school, which if you're anything like me, you just, didn't care at all. Anyway, he wasn't put in the position of having to pay a crazy amount in student loans. And he also probably had someone in his ear telling him that he did not need to go into crazy amounts of debt to, eventually find a job or eventually want to start a career. A good point he made at the very end there was a lot of people with student loans get a ton of hate because, the government has programs that help people get those loans forgiven. And under the Biden administration, there was this huge push to get loans forgiven. I think if you had like 20,000 or less, they'd be completely forgiven. And then obviously that was stopped by the Supreme Court decision. People, understandably so, don't want to pay for other people's decisions. At the same time, we do live in a system where people are basically said, you can either go to college and get a career or a job in the corporate world, or you can go to trade school and just become a tradesman. Now, most people don't want to be a tradesman, unfortunately, even though it's quite lucrative. Like if you're a plumber or electrician, if you're working construction, you can scale those businesses and make tons of money. Like you can be a millionaire just being a tradesman because, for one, there's just a complete lack of good tradesmen out there. And that number is just going to continue to decrease. But yeah, the other option is, you can go be in marketing, like digital marketing, or, another job that requires a degree, like in business administration, for example, to do like business development. The job postings themselves require you to have a degree. So you're forced into a situation where you have to, try higher ed. Now, again, that doesn't mean you have to go to a private university. That doesn't mean you have to go to the most expensive school. In fact, that is the whole point of me making this video, is to say that definitely don't do that if that's an option. Find the school that is most affordable and then see if you can make it work, because really that's the only way it's worth it, in my opinion. One thing I did want to mention, this top comment says, I took out $90,000 total for undergrad and business school, and I've been paying 20 years for that. Today I owe $156,000. That's crazy. They should at least be interest free. Yeah, to be paying 20 years on an initial loan of $90,000 and then to still owe $156,000, like that is just absolutely mad, completely mad. And there's tons of stories out there like this. Very, very sad stories, because truly, how do you get ahead when you have a balance that just has increased over the past 20 years? Now, of course, there's ways around it. You can increase your income, you can reduce expenses, you need to make more payments in addition. I'm guessing this person has just paid the minimum payments. I could be wrong, but you really have to attack a debt like this. And it's really hard. It's really hard to do that when the pool of jobs that exist are not very high paying relative to what you spent to get the degree to even be considered for the job.
Tell me how anyone thinks this number is a realistic monthly
It's
payment
just sad.
for a student loan. I've been paying on my loans for 7 years. I'm in the public loan forgiveness program, and look what my monthly payment is supposed to be based on standard repayment.
This is so sad.
How are people affording this?
This is a awful example of what student loans can do to someone. Total we paid was $375,000, and the monthly payment was $4,698. It's basically $5,000. Let's just round it up. Let's just say $5,000 every month out of your pocket goes to student loans. She's basically being forced to do an income-driven payment program, which would basically keep her in debt forever. But just to be able to afford the monthly payments, you have to do that, unfortunately. And that's just an astronomical amount of money to be owed. That's a literal mortgage. Like you took out a loan for like a $400,000 property, you put like 5% down. It's just like sickening, honestly. A good comment, I think, on this one is people take these loans out because they are told it's the only way to do better at life, but they are lied to. College degrees don't hold the same weight they did for our parents. This is a legitimate thing, and something has to change. Truly, something does have to change with student loans at a federal level within our government, because they basically have just let the door wide open and they can just loan as much as they want to anybody. Any student that needs a loan, they will give it to them for, they'll give it to them for $1 million with no issue at all. And unfortunately, people are not educated enough, or someone just does not have another person in their corner to say, there's other ways to do this. You don't have to go down this path that just puts you in such a hole financially. Find another career, honestly. I don't know. I don't think any career is worth that amount of debt. Okay, let's see what this one's about. It doesn't look like anything good, unfortunately.
Hey, I think I'm freaking out. I paid off my student loans almost like 3 years ago to the day. And I've been like building my credit up because I was like a stupid teenager and I screwed it up, but I've been doing like really well and I paid off my student loans. And then I got the refund in the mail and I need to calm down. They sent me too much money, I guess. And what it did, because they sent me too much money, it was like $200. Loans that were closed and fully paid off are now in default. And I woke up to my credit being tanked by like over 100 points. And I just spent 45 minutes on the phone with this really nice girl who just like was trying to figure out what happened, but it seems like my student loan refund of $277, and I got 2 of those checks. How am I supposed to know that that's too much of a refund back? I don't understand. And then since it wasn't my fault, I paid off my loans 3 years ago. They put my loans in default for like $200. So I don't know what to do. How do I fix this? So if you have any ideas on what I should do, let me know.
I'm guessing in this particular situation, she must have overpaid. Must have overpaid. I mean, she did say it was 3 years ago. So it's interesting that 3 years later that they would try and reconcile this overpayment through a refund, the lender. I mean, this is not something that is surprising, honestly, whatsoever. And this is another issue with just student loans in general. They don't have very good business practices. One thing that I've done is check on my loans that I paid off also about 3 years ago, periodically, just to make sure I'm not seeing anything pop up, because genuinely, I do not trust any of these types of corporations. I don't trust any of these types of businesses that lend so, up, that just throw you loans. They're predatory, honestly. And unfortunately, in this situation, unbeknownst to her, because she got that refund and the refund was too much from an overpayment, I'm guessing, she's now defaulted on, whatever amount of money it is. And the good thing in this situation is it's only $275, unless that amount has just skyrocketed to something crazy. You shouldn't be in like trouble or anything like that financially. It does suck that because the credit unions reported it as in default, that your credit has just kind of tanked at that point. Obviously, if you're trying to buy a house or a car and this happens, that is a huge issue. I would be very upset if that happened, because that could completely derail your ability to get either one of those things done. And so this is just another example of these companies being very shady and just not looking out for their customers. Student loans, they're, for the most part, have been in a period of forbearance. I personally, my wife and I, have one loan left, and it's been in forbearance since COVID. And we've been saving up to be able to pay it off in full before that forbearance period ends. But a lot of people are getting notices recently that their loans are starting to come due, as we've had a change in the presidential administration, a complete change philosophically in how to deal with student loans. So if you have a student loan balance, which if you're watching this, I'm guessing you do, one thing that I'd recommend is to just check it constantly if it's in forbearance to make sure that nothing has changed. Make sure that you're saving money so that when those payments begin, you're able to start making payments and then pay over the amount of just the minimums if you possibly can. For the most part, the interest rates on these student loans are not high like a credit card, but it accrues every day. And so being on top of it and making sure that you're attacking it is going to be so important just to get ahead financially and be able to have the ability to once and for all just never have to think about student loans. I mean, in this case, still think about it for like a couple years after you paid them off, because you never know what these companies will try and do to get some extra money out of you. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope we can get out of this mess together. If you have student loans, just pay them off. Do everything you can to do that. If you've enjoyed this, please like the video, subscribe, and until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.